Beep. Grand whatever, plebeians, party people, and they mamas. We have 30 minutes on the clock, Kina. This is Poetry on the Patio with Pleiades. We have episode 60 here. We have this bird that's screaming at me. I don't know if you can see it. I mean, I don't think he's actually screaming at me. That's me taking it personally. I'm sorry, that's my bad. I don't know why he's screaming actually, but we're just going to deal with it. Today I am at Con Tiempo Cafe, which is a coffee and wine bar, and I have this beautiful iced matcha latte with blueberry flavoring. I'm very grateful for that. Now, I have been going around places in Katy from like Kokohodo, and then you guys saw me at I forget what it was called. It was some cafe. Anyway, we're recording on my partner's phone because I don't know where my dad's phone is. That's not saying that I lost it. Maybe he took it back from me, which is fine. I'm again grateful for everyone who's been supporting the podcast in any shape or form, in any way they can. So this is again episode 60. We are 60 episodes in a row, and thank God for that, for all the storage, for all the supports, for every single viewer, every single comment, every single like, every single share, anyone who's been talking to me about it. Again, everything is just something I can't even express my gratitude about, because I don't think words can express how this creative process has brought me to this moment, So yeah, again, thank you guys so much for being here, and I hope you guys enjoy this episode as always, and if you guys do, like, comment, share, subscribe, all those fun things. This episode is called Peace, and again, I feel like we're going to be talking about some controversial topics, so that's fine. Again, I guess that's just me trying to embolden myself and find some sort of balance in this life. Also, it's really hot outside, we're out here in Texas. There's a bunch of these people that are coming here and going to this gym and this cafe, and then there's this massage place that's really cool next door to right across the street we have like Kim's Tea House. I don't know, this part of Katy I think is really cute. I really do like this area, and I've been around this area for years, maybe like a decade at this point, but again, I feel strange talking about these topics out loud, but I guess I shouldn't, because again, like, these are things that the entire community is dealing with, and like, it's worth it to have these conversations, even if you're going to be in some sort of hostile moments, like with strangers or community members, people that you might see often, and you might have even like a lot of communication, a lot of connection with this person, or maybe there's a lot of similarities that you guys can share. But even though you guys may like have things that you guys can talk about that are topics that you guys can agree upon, you may still have topics that you disagree upon. So peace on earth, is it achievable? I guess that is a huge question, and that's not really even the question that's at hand, right? Like, it's not even is it achievable, it's more like how do we get day by day to where more people can feel more peace. And I just think that's how it is realistically, but like, I guess, I'm one human being. Like, this is me playing my parts as much as I can to talk about what is this and how is this possible, because again, I am anti-war, and we have a lot of war criminals with our presidencies and our government. So is it achievable? And I don't know, I can't answer that again myself, but I can tell you what I can imagine peace on earth looking like for me. And right now, as we speak, unfortunately, we are in a war, and there are many wars that are going on and perpetuated, and wars that the government won't tell you about, and there's information that we know that is obvious because you see the problems that it causes. Oh, I just realized that the bird is gone. I missed the bird already, but you don't really notice the problems that are at hand, because like at certain moments people will be like, oh, it's quite a peaceful time right now because we're not hearing anything in the news or media. But like, we also know that like the news and media is not something that you can really trust or follow, and maybe some people believe that they can, and again, that's their business. But personally, I want to share that, like, who has control over the media, and like every single day that passes, like there are people like me and you in our community that we talk about what's going on locally, or we talk about what we know of that's going on globally, because we don't really know, again, everything that's going on globally. How could we? We're just one person or one community or one local area. But the more we talk, the more we understand, the more that we perceive and receive as information of like, okay, so things are not good right now, like, again, the things that you see, unfortunately, like bombings and missiles, and these aren't things that I really want to talk about, but like these are things, unfortunately, that are like causing problems. And it's not just like in our generation or day and age that it's causing problems. It's been causing problems for decades, centuries, millennia even. Maybe there have been like humanoids like outside of Earth, I don't know, like in other planets that have also had wars, but like maybe there's also humanoid-like creatures that have also never received war. There's also like documented and undocumented civilizations in the universe in our day and age that we can reflect back on and recollect information from, that shows us that there is some sort of peace that's achievable. So the question comes again, like, why is it that people can't talk to each other? And it's like, even if we get harmed in talking, like, why is it that we're not able to take that harm? Why is it that to like keep people safe, we have to harm people first? Like, look, we can't fight violence with violence in those global scales. Like, the only thing that we can really do is like, and I'll get to that in a second about like protesting, but before I get to protesting, I'm going to talk about Palestine, because I need you guys to know that I'm pro-Palestine, and it's not saying that like I'm anti-people from Israel, or like, or I am anti-Zionist. Like, I'm still supporting Jewish people, but like also I also may not know exactly what the terms mean, because I've been depressed for quite some time. So like, forgive me if I am using the incorrect terms with this, but I do just want to speak on what I do know, which is that, again, we are in wars and we are perpetuating danger, and that's not something that we should be proud of as a nation, right? So we have, again, governors, and we have presidents that perpetuate this behavior because they either don't want to admit that this is happening, or they admit that this is happening and again are supporting like the IDF or the people that have guns. And then that gets me back into protesting, because like the reason that I'm speaking out on this in the first place is because the first time that I had protested in my life was for a pro-Palestine march in Houston back when I was like 13 or 14, and I'm not gonna lie, I did not actually get to go on the ground, but me and my sister got to be a part of the planning committee that was getting the permits. And I think that meeting was super important to the development of my political and activist career, because if it wasn't for those moments when I was 13 and 14 and seeing people that were in their 20s that are now like in their 30s that are still speaking out about these events, and some people that have passed away at this point because they have been speaking out about these issues, or because they've had accidents due to the way capitalism wants to strip your joy, and so we go to these protests, whether it is for protesting anti-ICE protests or protesting anti establishment with cops and propaganda being spit in our face that like we are safe when we are imprisoned, whether it be hospitalizations being forced against our will, when we're told that we have to have 72 hours of observation because we're mentally ill, and then we harm people by literally putting them in cuffs and not giving them a place to rehabilitate themselves. We're not educating people when we put them in jail. You know, there's people in jail that educate themselves, and that gets me to this next topic that I'll talk about in a second. But mostly, you know, I'm saying that we're protesting these things. We're saying that, like, we do not want people in prison, you know, we do not want people to be taken from their families, we do not want families to be separated. These are important topics that we need to speak on. And, you know, even my podcast can be like a mini form of protest in that way. You know, we talk about connection and family and love and unconditional wealth and generational wealth in a different form than money. You know, we're talking about experience, we're talking about art and creation and, again, love. And so when it comes to congregating in the city, marching with hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people at times, you know, we've had like large feminist protests. I think in Washington there was like one of the largest feminist protests. I think it was in 2016 or something like that, and I'd really wanted to go and even had like a small chance to go, but for some reason I was unable to go. But, you know, again, I've been speaking in front of, like, thankfully, the Houston Hoochies. I again want to thank the Houston Hoochies for even allowing me to speak in front of the Houston City Capitol. And I also thank Darius, because he was the president of the UTSA Dems back in 2019, and if it wasn't for him, I also would not be more connected to the community. He speaks out a lot in San Antonio about again, issues that involve education and students, where it's like money is getting taken away from these books and money is getting taken away from housing, and it's being input into, again, like horses or like gasoline for the police cars, you know. And it's like, again, people are dying on the streets and they are applying for the government assistance that is necessary, you know. They're not even asking for too much, but then they're getting told they're asking for too much because they're given anything, and other people are not given anything. But it's like, okay, well then maybe we should give everyone something, right? And then so like once you level the playing field, that's also a problem. So I'm talking about protesting because it's, again, a part of the conversation where it's like, why do we protest? We don't just protest because we expect something to happen immediately, although we would like something to happen immediately. We protest because we're engaging in community. We're talking about, you know, political events, and there's people that disagree there. You know, there's people that are able to have a conversation at the front lines. But I talk about this because there's also the conversation of, like, we get tear gassed at protests. You can't always feel safe. You have to mask. And, like, you know, we're memorable people regardless at the end of the day, unfortunately, with your energy, the way that you hold yourself and walk. Like, again, I'm queer, and being queer is a protest in itself. Being trans, especially in Texas, is a protest in itself. I am about to be 26 years old. When this episode is aired, it's going to be less than a month until I turn 26, which is insane to me. I honestly don't think I ever thought I would be this old, and I'm very grateful that I'm aging, you know. Like, it is such a privilege to get stressed and to have stress lines and skin changes, you know, and wrinkles. It's a privilege. And I also want to say, like, you know, it's a privilege to be healthy and well, and to be able to walk and speak out about these things, and to have a project and to have a creative process. Like, it's a privilege. And I also think it's a privilege to have a revolution. You know, there's all of these historical events that are cemented in time that we can't go back to and to change, and I would love to see a revolution in our time, and I think that's a privilege, you know. Again, to be a part of a revolution, you don't ask to have it on you. It's just a moment of, like, class consciousness for some reason. So yeah, I just wanted to talk about revolutions for a second, because I also think that's, again, important and part of the conversation. And it's like, if we don't have revolutions, like, then we are expecting things to change based off of people having their opinions and talking between opinions, when it's like people are just getting angrier every day because we are living in, you know, a very high emotional state all the time. Like, again, when people don't have housing, when people don't have food, when they have food insecurity, when they can't provide for their kids, it's like, that makes you volatile, that makes you vulnerable, obviously. And So I again, I talk about revolutions because it's like in the conversation of reformist behavior, like we can't trust the government, we can't trust the presidents, unfortunately, to enact changes. Like Obama did certain good things, and I say that very carefully because, again, he's a war criminal at the end of the day, and that's honestly just the fact of like government. Again, like you can't participate in government without engaging in the fact that it is a 250-year-old scam that somehow they're still trying to sell us. By the way, that's a blueberry matcha. And yes, I like earthy flavors. Yes, don't chastise me for being a masochist, a sadomasochist, I'm sorry. Anyway, how much time do we have? 15 minutes. I felt like I've been talking for longer, but that just shows you like this is day in and day out, like the heat, being in Texas, being in Houston, being in Katy, like every single thing, it's stacking on top of each other of like, I have this feeling, I have this energy that like something is building, and that's the reason I continue to show up week in and week out, right? Like otherwise I would not be recording this every single Monday. And also on top of that fact, there's also, oh sorry, I have to check something. I'm not using my phone, so okay, we're good, lol. Yeah, it's just the fact that like the phone could be getting phone calls, and then like that's a frustration. But luckily, again, this isn't my phone, so I could edit this. Actually, I have not been editing my videos. You guys have been seeing that it's been a very DIY project because I am the only person running this podcast. I am editing it, recording it, posting it, uploading it, right? I am editing the caption, and eventually, hopefully, I will have timestamps and like the subtitles in and everything. But we're just not there yet. Again, we're having tiny revolutions every single day, and I'm not trying to just like reform my podcast. Like I do want revolutionary change, but like what we have the access to does not always allow us for revolutionary change. So again, I'm just trying to be a part of the process of like how can we get people to be more class conscious. And I also worry sometimes that I'm not as class conscious as I can be because I'm so depressed, and it's like how do we go day in and day out without like expecting like incremental change, like how can we expect this transformational large scale like intense change when we're so tired in ourselves? Like I think that can only happen when there's like 1,000 or thousands of people all in one area, like putting fire to the Capitol or something, right? And I'm not saying that we do that, but maybe I am saying we do that. Okay, take this as a joke in Minecraft, whatever they say to take away the target on the back. But again, I've been a target on my back since I was born, and I've known that, so why stop now? Like let's keep talking about it. Again, we're talking about Palestine, we're talking about revolutions, we're talking about protesting, we're talking about Houston, Texas, local, global, and we're talking about the universe. So it's like, why is it that I have to censor myself on my own platform? Like if there's gonna be a target on my back, then I might as well be seen. Like I am going to stand in solidarity whichever way is the best way, but also like people are dying, media coverage, journalists, they're going down, citizen journalism. Like we need to educate ourselves, and we need to have these conversations more and more. And again, like I do feel nervous having these conversations in the middle of Texas, in the middle of Houston or whatnot, but what else can we do? Like I'm not trying to be an opportunist, I'm not trying to be a reformist or a separatist. I'm trying to be, again, like this revolutionary, this individual who's like, there's a reason that this podcast is the way that it is. I uplift rappers, filmmakers, song makers, other podcast creators. I uplift community political activists and parents and teachers, and again, we talk to all different kinds of people because that's a part of the conversation. And again, I've been traveling a lot, and I've been meeting a lot more people, and that's been really cool to connect with all sorts of different people. And that takes me to the next step in this conversation, which is like free our homies in jail for non-violent offenses, please, especially for like marijuana. Come on, like drug offenses, it's like, first off, we have to think about the political system in the first place. And it's like the war on drugs happened towards specific communities more so than, let's just say it, white communities. So that's just my take on freeing the homies. It's like, if you're not doing a violent act, like if it's like a drug offense plus a violent act, that's one thing. But like, I'm not gonna lie, like if I catch a homie selling fent, like that sucks, that's fucking terrible. But also, like, why did that happen? Why did it get in their hands? You know, we have Narcan for a reason. Narcan has like 0 side effects to take the medicine, so it's better administered than not. And it's like, again, why is it in civilians' hands? Why is it in citizens' hands? It's because at the end of the day, we have had the government and police officers and people in power take these substances, these I forget what the word is, but like, you know, when they're like they're classified, these things that we're not even allowed to like have unless like a doctor prescribes it to you, or like you're in surgery or whatever, you know, they're on the market anyway, because, you know, it's a cycle, it's a loop of like giving it to the individuals that are going to sell it to people, and then they're gonna unfortunately be in jail as murderers. And if they're not in jail as murderers, they're going to be in jail as someone that's selling these things, you know. And like, you know, sometimes I don't say this like to take away the pain that people have suffered from being a victim of this crime, but I am still saying that, like, again, maybe it's not the drug dealer's fault that it's in their hands in the first place, you know, because again, it's like these hospitals and these corrupt doctors and like people that are like following lobbyists and getting paid by them, and police officers, again, like things we don't know that's happening, that it's getting into these people's hands, and then they're going to jail, and then it's getting back into these people's hands, and the cycle continues. They go back to the police officers sell it again, they take them back from the market by calling them criminals, and the cycle continues. The prices keep going up. We see inflation day in and day out, so why can't we free our homies in jail for non-violent offenses? You know, again, maybe it doesn't make sense how it connects, but to me it makes sense. All of these things connect. So we have about 5 more minutes, and so, you know, that again connects to the reformist behavior, separatist behavior. So it's like, you know, maybe I'm talking about a lot of things, and maybe I'm not even talking about everything that I'd like to talk about today. And I feel like this is like the most obvious that I've gotten, but like I think, you know, once you get to episode 60 of your podcast, like you have a ton of work to refer back to. So even if I'm talking about peace in this one, like world peace and politics and all of this, like, you know, you've been hearing me build up to this. Like, it's been no secret who I am, so why would I hide this back? Again, it's been no secret even before this. I've been speaking in front of, you know, like pro-abortion. I'm not saying pro, I'm saying pro-choice, right? Like, you don't have to get an abortion, you just have to do what you want. And personally, I would not like to get an abortion. I just don't want to harm my body that way. And I'm not saying that it's harming everyone's body that way, because again, sometimes getting a baby is harming the body more. But again, it's everyone's choice, man. So maybe you'll be like, if you're not a reformist, then why are you focusing on these topics? Because, I mean, I guess we have reformists, and they're going to change certain policies. And if people can have abortions for safe, or if people can have weed for safe, or if people can have the drugs they need in rehabilitation centers to detox and rehabilitate safely, and if people are doing violent crimes and need to rehabilitate safely, then I think we should have those opportunities, you know? I'm not saying everyone's capable of that. I'm also not saying everyone's not capable of that, you know? But the last thing that I would like to talk about is feelings of calm and a utopia. What does this mean, and what does this look like? Because it looks different for everyone. So maybe it's not like one singular thing that exists, you know? Maybe it's like a system that we establish that connects to each other, where it's like one individual likes Thai food more than pizza, so they stay in the Thai part of town versus the Italian part of town. I don't know. I'm just talking about, I'm spitballing here. I'm just giving examples of things that I don't really know how to experience or explain, because I think it's all circumstantial. You really have to look at a certain grid of experiences and do some sort of like city planning, basically, which is its own career field in itself. And again, that's like basically looking at all of Houston and being like, okay, so this is how many doctors we need, and this is how many therapist offices we need, and this is how many massage offices we need, and like, okay, then we have fulfilled this percentage in each, career field, and maybe we should uplift this certain career field and just prioritize it, because we're missing some sort of factors, and maybe everyone won't appreciate it, and maybe we have to resource other people and bring them into our community. I don't know how it would work, but again, you're looking at a grid and then you're putting those circumstances into the conversation. So feelings of calm look different for everyone, and for me personally, feelings of calm look like prioritizing my podcast, because I start talking about things that matter to me and I feel connected to the universe. I feel feelings of calm when I'm making art, and when I'm sharing my art with others, and when I'm profiting, even, unfortunately I say, because I just think for-profit sucks in general, but unfortunately you have to survive, and to survive you need to make a profit and you need to be financially independent. So yeah, I do feel good selling my art, unfortunately, again, because I am participating in capitalism in that way. But I feel calm when I can feed myself, and when I can house myself, and when I can record my podcast, and when I can have a drink of coffee, and when I can keep my timer around, and when I can put my sunglasses on, and when I can use my fan, and when I can travel. Feelings of calm look like many things for me. And I'm sure feelings of calm look like many things for you too. So making polymer clay items, knitting, walking, running, exercising, lifting. It could be even making food, It's just like whatever feelings of calm look like, that's all right to you. And I talked about Utopia in a previous podcast too, but there's Utopia, Texas, and I wonder if there's other cities similar to Utopia, Texas, but like that are literally named Utopia, but like being called Utopia, like you go there and like maybe the people don't agree with you, maybe there's like only 100 people in that city, but like it could quite literally be a utopia in itself, of like when you go there you do achieve some sort of utopia and peace, and you can refer back to it, and maybe those people that live there can tell me a little bit more about this, but maybe they do experience some sort of euphoria constantly, day in and day out, even when things are hard. But I don't know. Regardless, I'm grateful for the time that you guys give me every single week. That's pretty much it, all I've talked about. I again wanted to make it very clear who I was, if you guys didn't know who I am already. Again, there's other celebrities that are still celebrities talking about this stuff, and people should be more like them. Right off the top of my head is Mark Ruffalo. There's not a lot of celebrities that are open about these things, and oftentimes when they are, they're like connected to brands and affiliated with certain associations that tell you, oh, you can't talk about like the gas pipeline, or you can't talk about war, and you can't talk about capitalism. But it's like, here's the dealio, the sponsors that I want, the people that I care about to secure deals with, are going to understand who I am, and not only are they going to back me up and uplift me, but they're also going to be on the same page as me. And again, I understand that when we're on the front lines, we all don't have the same opinions and experiences as each other, but that's okay. Again, we're just here another day trying to build a better life for each other. And I think a better life means that people get clean water, housing that's safe. I think people can be educated and have good health care and insurance. And insurance can actually do what it's meant to do. Again, I've been talking about this day in and day out. I think trans people deserve rights. I think black people deserve rights. I think that people of color deserve rights. And I think that white people sometimes should have white guilt. I'm sorry, maybe I'm not. But regardless, thank you guys for listening. As always, there's much more to be said, but for today, this is all I have. Poetry on the patio for the Plesbians, for Pleiades, or with Pleiades. We're on a patio, we're outside, we're in Texas. We recorded another episode. We're going to have Thank God, and until next time, my peoples, stay healthy, stay well, read a book, educate yourself, love yourself. And the last thing that I'll say is enjoy next week's episode. We will have Lalo Bispo on our podcast. They are going to be our next interview. They are a wonderful artist, a ceramicist, creator. I'm not sure if they would consider themselves a ceramicist actually, but a sculptor for sure. They are mixed media. They bring so much to the table. I've actually been in one gallery with them, the Holy of Holies. I'm so excited to share with you their materials and their process and their queerness, because you know me, I love uplifting queer people because I'm queer myself, and I'm excited to talk to you guys about what comes next after that also, because there is a lot to look forward to. And while I'm depressed now, I can see that my future is bright, and I'm just ready to share those feelings with you. So with this last second that this beep is gonna go off, thank you again. Please like, comment, share, subscribe, do all of those nice things. Give it up for the Clockina. And yeah, thank you, Joaquina, as always, for providing this. Otherwise it would not be so easy, I think, to experience this podcast. Also, I feel loved, and I feel happy that you guys again are on my supportive team, that you guys watch my process, and I hope you guys do something for yourselves like always. Bye. I love you. Much love. Until next time.